Good morning and welcome to Spill It at the Coffee Table with Cheyenne. I'm your host, Cheyenne Blanchette, and today we're talking about how you cannot teach a parent to be a parent. So let's get into that. It's obviously going to be something that may be uncomfortable to talk about. It may be something that not everyone wants to admit out loud, but being a parent myself, I've learned a lot, and I feel like I have my own experiences that I really go off of and I bounce off of that. So grab your coffee, I got mine, and let's spill it. So the biggest thing that I want to talk about is the grief that nobody talks about is truly when you have a parent who either didn't want to be one or didn't know how to be one, didn't have parents growing up. And it's really, there's a lot of grief behind when you don't get the parent that you necessarily deserve. So, one of the biggest heartbreaks in my life wasn't a breakup. It was realizing no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't make someone become the parent I needed. The grief wasn't just about what happened, it was about letting go and what I kept hoping would happen. And it really resonates with me, that quote, because my entire life, all I ever wanted was someone to choose me. All I ever wanted was my mom to just pick me over her husband who abandoned me in the middle of my life because I was a teenager and I was too hard to handle and I was rebellious and doing things that he didn't like. And looking back, like there were things that I did do that I understand weren't okay, like sneaking out with friends, like those types of things. But I didn't do it often enough for it to really have made a difference in my mind, I guess. Um, but this kind of goes into my next segue of I am having to mourn people who are still alive because of the choices that they made as parents and the choices that they made in life. And so let me set the scene for you. I am 12 years old. I'm having a really hard time with life. Um, a little bit of my story is I was sexually abused as a child, and that was really hard for me. And I was just coming to terms with that at 12 years old. It was all at once. Um, I told my mother that I was not okay and that, I was not having the best thoughts. And instead of getting me help, she just was like, you're fine, basically. And we had a conversation, well, kind of, about this recently. And she said, you know, I did the best that I could with what I had. I didn't want to put you into therapy because I knew you wouldn't talk about it. And that is the one thing that I will never understand her mentality of is, okay, that's what you may have thought was if you had put me in therapy, I wouldn't talk. But if I'm coming to you and telling you I need to talk to somebody and I can't talk to you, as a parent myself, sitting in that position, like sitting in a position of like, what would I do? Being a parent now, I would let my son go to therapy. I would pay millions of dollars for him to get help because it's better than the alternative. And so, yeah, I'm in the process of mourning people who are still alive because I can't have a relationship with people who my entire life it felt like I was never good enough. It was never a first choice. It was never something that was of importance to them that I got help. And that really did mess me up in a lot of ways because I went about finding that love was transactional and that if I didn't give to people, then I wasn't worth it. And all those things that you really shouldn't have to worry about as a kid. But I was worrying about it as a child. And it's really depressing to think about because I don't know. It's hard. But back to the mourning of people who are still alive is when I was about 15, 16 years old, my father figure in my life, my mother's husband, I don't consider him my father anymore because of the way that things have happened. I don't even give him that title because if you're going to abandon your kid in the middle of their life, in the hardest moments of their life, you do not deserve that title. Because sitting here as a parent myself, I know that if my son, who he's only 6, but I know he's gonna go through phases of he's gonna hate me, he's gonna love me, he's gonna fight with me, he's gonna rebel against me. But the difference is I'm gonna love him no matter what. I'm gonna love him unconditionally. I'm gonna love him through all the good, all the bad, all the ugly, because that's what you do as a parent. You don't just give up because it gets hard. You don't give up because they don't listen to you exactly how you want them to. That's just not how life works. And so, yeah, so I had to mourn him because he was a father figure up until that point in my life, and we had good memories, and I still hold on to those memories because while I may not have the same respect for him anymore, there was a part of my life that was good with him, but I still had to mourn him. And so a lot of the early moments of my marriage was me mourning a father that didn't want me. And it was already bad enough because he's not even my biological father. My biological father is a drug addict who I'm glad was never in my life and I never met and I never knew. But I think it hurts more knowing that for some reason I still wasn't good enough for the person who chose to be in my life. He chose to be in my life. And that is, I think, the thing that hurts the most is just sometimes you don't pick to be a parent. Sometimes it just happens. But when you choose to be in someone's life and you choose to make those promises and then you just be like, deuces, I'm out because things get hard, that really shows who you are as a person and your mentality and the things that you stand for. And it's not a good look. And then my mother, she's always chosen his side. She's always been like, well, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to apologize. And I'm like, I was the child. I was the kid in this situation. Why am I the one that's making apologies for me being a kid who was learning what was right and what was wrong? I understand that you told me what was right and what was wrong. However, kids don't always listen, and you should know that you were a child once yourself. And so I'm mourning her now because she's always going to choose him. And that is, totally fine. That is definitely something that you can do. And I've gotten to a point where I still have days that are really hard for me because all I've ever wanted was a mom who picked me, who loved me, who showed me love and affection, who did all these things that I never really got as a child. I was the oldest daughter. And I think everyone knows the story of the oldest daughter is half the time you tend to have to pick up the slack of your parents and you have to help raise your siblings and you have to be this perfect example of perfect. And at least that was my case. I felt like I always had to be perfect. And I was always told, oh, you're so mature for your age. But I was like, I don't have a choice. I've never had a choice. I never had a choice in the matter. I had to be perfect because if I wasn't good enough for people. And that is really hard to understand because as a parent, you can't, you shouldn't, not that you can't, but you shouldn't look at your kid as someone who can watch your kids for you, who can help raise your kids, who can help do all the house chores, who can do X, Y, and Z because they're a people pleaser and they can't say no because they were raised that way. And it's really hard because, like I said in the beginning of this podcast, you can't teach a parent to be a parent. You kind of just learn it. There's no book, there's no guide. And being a parent myself, it's hard. And I agree with that. And I understand that they may have done what was best for them in those moments. But I feel like they never once considered how it was going to affect us as kids, especially me, because I felt like I was never considered. I felt like I was never important. I felt like I never was a choice or an option for people. And that's just wild to me. And all the things that I do, I had to choose myself, even if that meant not keeping the perfect family image intact. And what I mean by that is after I got married to my husband and I started realizing, oh, those things aren't normal. Like, you shouldn't be treated like that. I found early on that I was not delusional and I was not crazy and that I was being treated the way that you shouldn't be treated by family. And there was a lot of things that were said and done that I really just loathe and I hate. And I want to preface this by saying that I do not hate my parents. I don't. I forgive them for a lot of the things that happened as a child, like happened when I was a kid, because I understand they were doing the best that they could, but that doesn't excuse the fact that I still feel the way that I feel for a reason. And so with that being said, I don't really talk to my family anymore. I don't talk to my mother unless she's coming to get my son, because I still let her see my son, because even though they weren't great to me, they're great to him, and he deserves that, and he wants them in his life, and that is his choice because he is 6 years old. He is old enough to make those choices. If he doesn't want to go somewhere, I'm not going to force him, but also if he wants to go somewhere, I'm not going to say no. Um, but with that being said, I had to really step back from everything because I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't pretend that I was this perfect human being because I'm not perfect. I'm not this perfect person, and I shouldn't have to give more than I can take. And that's exactly what was happening. I was giving, 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 and getting nothing in return from my own family. And I feel like that happens a lot to people, and it really is just very frustrating because it's like, why am I not good enough for your love? So, in all the things that I did, I chose myself. I choose myself every day by not putting myself in situations that stress me out, by not putting myself in situations that I'm not comfortable with. So, no, I don't go to family events anymore. No, I didn't go to my brother's wedding. And that may be something that people are like, why the fuck didn't you go to your brother's wedding? I don't have a relationship with my brother. My brother doesn't care about me. He never really has. He's 6 years younger than me, has a whole different life. I'm in a whole different point of my life, and we've never really been close. I didn't go to my brother's wedding because I didn't want to be in a situation where I was not comfortable and I was not okay. And everyone's like, oh, you're going to regret it. He's still your brother. And I'm like, I don't regret it. And I think that's something that people just don't understand is I made that choice, clear mind, sober, on my own. Nobody forced me. And I think a lot of people in my family think that like my husband is the reason that I don't go to family things, like he hates them, blah, blah, blah. And that's not even the case. My husband has literally just supported me in everything that I've done. He's always been the voice of reason when I needed it. He's always been there for me. But stepping away from my family really was like the pivotal moment for me of just peace. And yeah, that meant that I wasn't keeping this perfect image of our family intact because no, I don't go to family things. No, I don't show up for things that everyone else goes to because the only thing that matters is showing up. It doesn't matter. You don't have to try. As long as you show up, that's enough. And in my eyes, that's not the case. Like, you need to actually have a relationship with someone. You need to have, I don't know, a mutual understanding that you guys love each other and that you're there for each other and that it's not just a give and a give and a give. It's a give and take. And there's, compromises and things that you have to change and all those things. And that's why I didn't go to my brother's wedding, really, is because I've always given to my brother. Always given him free haircuts. I've always given him free things. I've always given him things that, and even then, I don't have a relationship with my brother. Like, the last conversation I had with my brother was probably 3 words. Hey, hi, how are you? Like, that was all it was. But the biggest thing that I want to go over today is the whole premise of this is you can't teach somebody to be a parent. And I know that being a parent myself. So through all the heartache, I've learned to be a parent who my son needs, but also the parent I always needed. And sometimes that means I am hurting my own feelings. And what I mean by that is there's so many times where my son will come to me and he'll be like, I'm just sad. I'm like, okay, let's hug, let's cuddle. Let's talk. I never got that as a child. It was, oh, shut up, you're fine. Oh, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with you. Like, bitch, don't tell me that there's nothing wrong with me. Like, all I ever wanted was to talk to somebody about how I felt. I wanted to talk to someone about how the life was affecting me. And like, yes, I didn't want to open up about my sexual assault to my parents when I was a kid because I was scared. But I needed to open that up to somebody, and nobody cared. Nobody wanted me to do that. And if my son came to me and he told me, hey, Mom, I'm having a really hard time. I don't know why. I don't really feel comfortable talking to you, but I need to talk to somebody. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to drop everything that I have, everything that is around me, and go to my son and be like, what do you need? You need therapy? I'll pay millions of dollars for therapy. I mean, I have millions of dollars, but I'll figure it out. Because that's what you do as a parent. And that is what I mean when I say I hurt my own feelings. It's because I needed a mother. And I'm hurting my own feelings because I'm becoming my own mother, the version of the mother that I needed. So I guess hurting my own feelings is just the way that I kind of just understand in my brain that I'm like, it sucks because sometimes it's really hard being a mom because there's just sometimes that I'm just like, I'm so exhausted. I just need a break. And then there's also times where I'm like, this is the most beautiful thing. And I will never, ever regret my son. I never have regretted my son. I do everything in my power to be a better version of myself every single day. If I fuck up yesterday, today, I'm going to make sure that I don't do the same thing that I did yesterday. If I say I'm going to do something, I do my damnedest to follow through with it. If I say that we're going to go on a date, you better believe that we're going to go on a date and we're going to hang out. We're going to get ice cream. We're going to get a toy. We're going to do all these things because I never got those things as a child. And it may have been because they were struggling financially. I don't know. All I know is I never felt like a priority in their lives. And I will never, ever make my son feel like he is not a priority in my life. I will drop everything for that little boy in a heartbeat if he needs me because I am his mother. I'm his mom, and I can't understand how their brains work. Like, I try and think about it all the time, and I'm like, I just don't understand how you can say that you love someone, especially your child, because you're like biologically programmed to love your kids, right? Or am I wrong? And I never got that. And you just can't teach somebody to be a parent. You really just truly can't. And there's no book. There's no lessons. It's just you jump in and you do it. And you either do it right or you do it wrong. And I'm not saying that my parents did things like completely wrong because I didn't have like the worst childhood. But yeah, it wasn't all glamorous and it wasn't, I don't know. It just wasn't the best. But yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope I had a little bit of insights, but if you have a family situation that's similar to mine where you never felt like you were important, I hope you know that you are important and that you don't need validation from your family all the time. Like, yes, it's nice, but you don't need it all the time. And I hope you understand that this is a safe space, and I hope that, you can find good in all the things that you do, and that if you become a parent, that you know that you can be better than them because, yes, it takes a lot of trying and thinking and focusing on being better. But I promise you, it is the most amazing thing when you have a kid who just looks up to you with just so much love, and they hug you and they feel comfortable with you and they know that they're safe with you. It is a beautiful thing. So, yeah, definitely, definitely a heavy topic today, but I hope that you guys got something from this. I hope you guys enjoyed my little ranting because that's all it really was, is I just felt like ranting today. But in the comments somewhere, I would like to know, what's your family dynamic? Are you close to your family? Are you not close to your family? If you could change something about your family, what would it be? Any of those things that pique your interest. But I just want to say thank you for spilling it at the coffee table with me. And I hope that the next time we meet, we can spill even more juicy details and juicy gossip. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day. And I will see you guys on the next one. Love ya. Bye.